Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Canuckleheads Live, looking at Homecoming, what you should know. This is our launch day look at from our launch day stream of Homecoming. So, if you normally play Gwent, this is what you're used to. You have your 3 lanes, you hop in, and you do your best to deny some dailies. You have your favorite deck, you're good to go, and it goes pretty seamlessly. For the most part. Now, you may be a little surprised if you had logged in today and this is what you saw. A tutorial that you were locked into and had flavor text cutscenes.
The trees, a wooden bridge
So they
came
made
into
it
view.
look like Thronebreaker.
At one end, a group of travelers. At the other, a monstrous horde.
You know, and that was a little annoying. It took me 40 minutes to get through this tutorial. And granted, I haven't been playing since closed beta, but I have quite a bit of time under my belt. It's gritty, it's different. There's only 2 lanes, and the cards themselves have been adjusted to reflect that, gaining bonuses depending on whether they're in the melee or the ranged lane. And I can see why they made sure we all played these tutorials. Because it really was very confusing to sit down and go in. Now, we did get rewards throughout the whole thing, and at the end, kind of a choice, who are you going to support? And we got a bit of a reward. But another big surprise was the fact that there's different kinds of kegs, and I was a little worried this meant there was going to be a bit of pay to win, but thankfully it doesn't look that way. As we're going to see here in a second, you have your premium kegs now, which we all got as a gift for Homecoming, as well as your base standard keg. Now, on top of this, you can also get rewards points. So those reward points can actually be spent on, you get ore, some scrap, as well as faction-specific kegs, which is great. You know, if you're anything like me, you have a favorite deck, you want to get cards for that deck, this is a way to guarantee that you only get them. And as you can see here, going through the Scoia'tael, they have the same thing, you can get Scoia'tael. This is also how you unlock the leader cards, or you can just craft them if you have enough scrap, but they're expensive, like 1800 scrap. So if you have the rewards points, I would strongly suggest making sure you do it through here. Now, card opening, very similar to before. You have your 4, you pick, or you flip them over, and then you pick your 5th card. But what we're seeing here is a lot of cards aren't the same anymore. Our skirmisher here, he's only a 1. He used to be an 8. That is going to change so many decks. He was one of the backbones of my dwarf deck. Now going in here, again, very similar. You break them open, we're getting just Scoia cards, which is nice. This is a change I'm happy with. But again, once we can see, another core card has changed. Polly is no longer a bronze, or sorry, a silver. He's a gold. And that's important. He also doesn't have the same effect anymore, so you can't just build the deck you're used to having. Now, I know with my experience where I mostly played dwarves, I don't have a huge understanding of the intricacies of a lot of these decks, but enough to see that a lot has changed, and not necessarily for the better. Now, as we can see, a lot of the leaders have changed as well. With Francesca being a order play the special card from a graveyard, which is the new kind of ability. Then there's Ethne, damage 1 unit, she can do it 3 times, and on round start it refreshes, so she gets 3 charges every round. Moving on to Brewer, he no longer plays a special card, but he replaces the role that the mercenaries used to have, where he can move a unit to his lane or move an enemy and cause some damage. But he was another cornerstone, being able to play the cards you didn't get. We have the Arrakis Queen, who no longer plays as the standard consume, but when an ally is destroyed, she spawns a drone and summons it to a random row. No longer is she the immune consume monster we all know and sort of liked. The Elder, he triggers a Death Wish ability now, and on round start, he repeats it. So he can now act like the Griffin did, but every turn. And now the Woodland Spirit, instead of summoning fogs and wolves, actually boosts a unit in your hand by 8, which is useful if you're playing a boost deck, but really changes things. A lot of cards have changed as well. Most notably, the Vran Warrior no longer consumes what's to his right, but does damage. The Mahakam Marauder, instead of being an 8 that gets boosted every time his skill or his power changes, is now a 4 that can possibly get resilience when boosted. Solano Harpies no longer lay eggs. The eggs themselves have a death wish that spawns them, and things like the Ice Giant no longer have an ability, and a number of other Wild Hunt abilities have been reduced, as well as we're going to see here, the Wild Hunt Hound no longer summons Biting Frost, and weather effects have a limited amount of turns they are active for. Now, another huge change you're going to notice when you go in to build your first deck is they've gotten rid of silver cards. A card is now bronze or gold, but there's no limit on the amount of gold cards you can have. The big change on this now is the fact that cards have values. They're called recruitment values, which I believe are based off the Thronebreaker content. We only have up to 165 recruitment, so you can go over the minimum 25 cards, much like you could in the Witcher series, but now it's based on how much that card is worth, which is going to mean a lot of decks you want to build may not be able to due to that restriction. No longer can you rely on your 4 golds and your handful of silvers. Some have been boosted, like Poly, to gold status, and some are now just bronze. So it's going to make it very difficult for everyone to play like they're used to go in and really rebuild that deck that you liked so much. This has been a look at Homecoming, and I have to say I personally am not thrilled with the changes I see, and I'm a little concerned that the rest of the community is going to feel this way as well. That being said, if you enjoyed this, make sure you hit me up on Twitch. You can be part of the fun over on twitch.tv/Canuckleheads live, or you can make sure you follow on YouTube to get updates. We're going to be doing some tutorials, some deck building stuff. It should be a lot of fun. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next game.